Uh, uh, okay. Dino or Thomas, you'll have to give me host rights.
Sorry. I'll do the chat. I'm sorry. I missed that.
That's okay.
Okay, it's taking some time. I'm going to make you the host. Let's see if that works. Chata, can you try from your end because it's not working on mine. I'm putting make co-host and make host, but Dominic no effect.
Wait. I'll have to. Okay. 1 second. I can do, but I need to just log in back.
Yeah, sure. Let's
1 second.
Normally I do this automatically. Perfect.
Done.
Oh no.
I took the host control, so that's why you would have. Okay, Dominic, you have it. Yeah.
Praise God.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. I hope you can see the screen. Yeah. Now it must be.
Yep.
Okay.
Clear, Chata.
All right. The previous sessions were primarily on the purity of the human body, or how we are supposed to ensure that we live a life of purity. That's what John Paul II was talking about in the previous lectures. So now we are moving to the, this is kind of the appendix to the first part. Okay. And to chapter 2. Okay. And then from lecture number 64 onwards, we move on to chapter 3 of the first part. All right. So we, for those of you who have joined new, I'd like to say that we have just covering the first part. See, the theology of the body is divided primarily into 2 parts. Okay. And then we have covered the chapter 1 and chapter 2 of the first part. I mean, what we are just about to cover is the last bit of the second chapter. Then we will be moving to the third chapter, okay, of part 1. And then we'll be moving into part 2, okay, which itself has another 3 chapters. So that's kind of the division of the book, okay, this book. So just prior to this, we were talking about purity. Okay, so now we are going to move into what is known as the ethos of the body in art and media. So this is just an appendix, so to speak, to the second chapter of the first part. That's how John Paul II has arranged the entire sessions. All right. So here we are going to be looking at the ethos of the body, how the body is represented in art as well as in media. Okay. So since we have launched from purity, okay, since we have taken off from purity, the idea that has to be front and center in everybody's mind is that the way we look at a human person has to be with purity. Because if you're not looking with purity, then no matter even if, let's say, the person is completely clothed, okay, you will be able to even undress the person with your eyes. I'm sorry to be so blunt at it, but that's the reality of the life that we are living in. So it matters how we look with our eyes at the person that whom we behold. Okay. If you're not looking with purity, then no matter how the other person is, dressed, then you can still, ensure that, you are undressing the person, which obviously is wrong. Okay. So with that context in mind, we'll just proceed further. Okay. So here what we are dealing with is, what John Paul II is talking about is how the body is depicted in art as well as in media. So there are two ways of looking at it. One is, first and foremost, he addresses the point is whether nakedness is something which can be depicted in art. Okay. And the honest answer is yes. Nakedness can be depicted in art. All right. And it has been depicted in art, which we are all very kind of familiar with. Now, it depends upon how the body is depicted. Okay. And also how the body is viewed. That is how the art is viewed by the person. Okay. So there are two elements to it. One is the artist's perspective, the way the artist is depicting the human body. And the other is how the viewer of the art is viewing the artistic expression. Okay. Those are two aspects which we are going to be basically covering. Okay. So let's read through what John Paul II is saying. Whatever is put in brackets with TOB is direct quotes from the book itself. All right. So the ethos of the image. So it is the title for these lectures is Ethos of the Body in Art and Media, and it could also be called as the ethos of the image. Okay. So he says, man encounters the reality of the body and experiences the body also when it, that is the body, becomes a subject of creative activity, a work of art, a content of culture. Okay. So it's not just when you are viewing a person or, you look at a person in reality, but also in art, you will experience the body. That's basically what he's talking about. So now these are whatever are not direct quotes will be written by me. Okay. So now the body of one person cannot become the body of another person. That's pretty clear, right? Because the body identifies the person, right? So, I mean, I'll just give you a little bit of a, interesting thing. I mean, can you imagine? I know some of us may have seen these images where you go to a amusement park and you have probably the image of a bodybuilder. Let's say somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger, okay? And the cutout is put there. And all you need to do is stand behind the cutout, because the area where the face is, that is not there. So only the image of the body is there from the neck downwards with the arms flexing. Okay. So you just go and put your head in that space where, let's say Arnold Schwarzenegger's face was supposed to be, but instead now it's your face. And then obviously a photograph is taken and then you're saying, okay, you're as, as muscularly built as Arnold Schwarzenegger. But everyone who views that photograph or that image knows that it's a false image, correct? Because just putting a face with the body of somebody else, okay? We know that that's a false image because that body is not yours, right? It's Arnold Schwarzenegger's or let's say Mike Tyson's or anybody who's strong, because that body identifies the person, okay? It's not just the face which identifies the person. That's what I'm something which we need to clearly understand. Now again, now here is the problem again. Now we're getting into more or less this woke ideology where we have transgenderism, right? Now and this is happening. You have a human person, a male, okay, who imagines or feels or whatever as if he is a female, and then slowly but steadily tries to do whatever is necessary and then becomes, so to speak, a female. So I'm sorry, this might sound very crude, but it is kind of similar to, let's say, a male becoming a female and a female becoming a male. So just imagine the situation where a girl, a lady, is going and standing behind Arnold Schwarzenegger's cutout poster and putting her face there. Okay. And then making herself appear like a man. You and I, all of us know it doesn't work, right? And that's unfortunately the ideology that is being pushed down our throats in this world right now. That as if you can change your body. Okay. You can become from a male to a female and from a female to a male. You can change your body. But the truth is you can't. Because no matter how, whatever organs or you add or subtract or whatever, in your cellular structure, if you are a male, you're a male. In your cellular structure, if you're a female, you're a female. It doesn't change. Okay. Chromosomally, if you're a female, you're a female. No matter what you do to your external parts of your physical body, you will still remain a female. And the same goes for a male. Now, I don't know whether John Paul II had anticipated this when he wrote this, but the fact of the matter remains that it is not just in art, it has now become practical reality in our lives that this is happening. Oh, I know, I just... okay. I just read a chat which I think, Dino, probably you'll need to respond to the chat with message which is
No, I
coming.
saw, and
Okay.
it was not,
Yeah.
it was not very clear. Looks like I don't know. He wanted recording maybe. Yeah, we'll look into it.
Probably. Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's get back to what John Paul II said. Okay. So in art, when a person's body is depicted without reference to the person himself, then that art is reducing the person to be just an object for the viewing pleasure of the other persons in the world. This violates the dignity of the person. So when a person's body is depicted without reference to the person, in the sense, let's say Again, and let's say, even John Paul II really clearly says, he uses the term anonymous image. What does it mean, anonymous image? An anonymous image would be something like where you just have the person's body. You don't have the face. Okay. Whatever you may say, the face is important. Okay. The face identifies the person with the body. Okay. Now, you just have the body. And usually under those circumstances, the face is not, is kind of cut out or obscured or whatever. You have, unfortunately, most of the times, these depictions are usually pornographic. Because you don't want to identify the person, but you just want to look at the person's body, and that body now, kind of in your eyes, if you are the viewer, that body now is not, in a sense, does not have the dignity of being the body of some human being, but rather it has now become an object for the viewing pleasure. Okay. And this violates the dignity of the person. I think it's pretty clear when, I mean, even let me put it this way. If you have looked at the advertisements of cars, let's say, okay, and you have the image of a pretty looking girl standing next to a car. Why? Even though maybe she's completely clothed, whatever. That girl or the image of the girl is just being used to just highlight the car. But is the car being highlighted? No, it is just to draw attention to that advertisement. Okay. Because somehow the people who advertise, they kind of know that you put the image of a girl, there is an attractive element which is there, which will draw attention, hopefully, beyond the girl to the material which is being advertised. In this case, probably the car. There also, even so, let's say the image of the girl is, if she's there, it's also a violation of the dignity of the person. Because you're just using the person's image, not for the sake of glorifying the person as the person, but rather as the person just becoming a source of catching the attention of people who hopefully may or may not buy the car, whatever. This is also a violation of a human being. Okay, so that may not technically be pornographic, but it definitely is violating the dignity of the person. Okay, all this is the problem with the ethos of the image. Okay, so now we look at one word which is called aesthenomai. Aesthenomai, from where we get the word aesthetic. Aesthenomai. My pronunciation may not be great. Okay, I have not learned Greek, so aesthenomai, which primarily means to look or to observe. All right. Now, look or observe. So, if something is aesthetic, that means when you look or you observe, okay, if it is presented in an aesthetic manner, then it does not devalue the person. Okay. That means something which is going to be looked at or observed for the very essence of that which is being observed. Okay. It's not like that advertisement that I talked about. It is just for the sake of looking at this person and probably highlighting the beauty of the person or the situation, etc., etc. Then that becomes aesthetic. It becomes, in a sense, in normal language, normal English, probably pleasing to your eyes. Okay. Now, if, like I said, now that which is looked upon, that is the art depicting the person, is depicted without an aesthetic sense. It devalues the person. Okay. So the essence of aestheticness, it depends upon something which we will just discuss a little later. Okay. So you need to understand that everything which is depicted in art or in media, whenever it is depicting a human person, it has to be aesthetic. It has to be pleasing to the eyes. Okay. If it is not, then it is devaluing the person, the devaluing the essence of the person, which is something which we need to avoid. All right. So, continuing, the whole sphere of aesthetic experiences lies at the same time within the realm of the ethos of the body. That is, this is what John Paul II is saying in lecture 60 and paragraph 3. The whole sphere of aesthetic experiences lies at the same time within the realm of the ethos of the body. So if the ethos of the body is preserved, okay, then it becomes aesthetic. That's primarily what he's trying to say. Now, aesthetics is tied to Christ's words in the Sermon on the Mount that compare looking to desire with adultery coming from the heart. Now, if you look with desire, what does it mean to desire? In other words, you can say, I look in order to possess. Okay, that's looking to desire. I want to have the person. I want to have. I'm not bothered. In a sense, I wouldn't even say person. I just want to have that being or whatever for my pleasure. All right. When I look upon a human being like that, then I'm committing adultery in the heart. That's the essence of what Christ is saying. Okay. That means if I look at a woman looking to desire her for my own sake, for my own pleasure, then I have made her an adulteress in my heart. Okay. Not that she is an adulteress, she is not. But the way I look at her is saying that now she is becoming an adulteress. Okay. For me. And that is what it means to commit adultery in the heart. Now, this is essential, okay, for us to understand. So aesthetics, that's the way we look or the way we observe, has to be pleasing. It cannot be looking to desire. It cannot be committing adultery in the heart. That's what John Paul II is trying to say. So he's saying this. Artistic objectification of the human body in its male and female nakedness for the sake of making of it first a model and then a subject of a work of art is always a certain transfer outside of this configuration of interpersonal gift that belongs originally and specifically to the body. Okay. That means what he is trying to say is, what is a human being for? Okay, a human being is essentially for the fact that he or she can become a gift for the sake of the other. That is the essential nature of a human being. Okay. That means I am existing in the world not for my sake, but I am existing in this world for others. I am a gift to God first, to myself, and to others. Okay. So when I am a gift, only then I can offer myself for the sake of the other, and I can, be a contributing member to the glory of God in society. That is the way we need to live. All right. When art takes this outside the realm of this interpersonal gift, okay, when the artistic objectification of the human body in its male and female nakedness makes this into an object which is outside this realm of being an interpersonal gift, then it becomes a non-aesthetic depiction of the human body, okay, which is not pleasing. All right. I hope that's clear. Now, then he says, even though this can take place, does it mean that nakedness cannot be depicted in art? No, of course not. That's what he's saying. From the fact that this issue arises, it does not at all follow that the human body in its nakedness cannot become the subject of works of art, only that this issue is neither merely aesthetic nor morally indifferent. Okay. That means what he's saying is that even though there is a possibility that when you depict a human body in its nakedness, it can be probably, even though you try your level best to make it as aesthetic and as pleasing, etc., 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 it can still become, viewed in a particular way to make it non-aesthetic. Okay, because it also depends upon the way the person looks at the work of art. No. So just because somebody is looking at the work of art in that way of objectifying the person, does it mean that we cannot depict the human body in with its nakedness at all in art? Of course not. Okay. Why? Because now here I am giving you a quotation right from the beginning of the theology of the body. John Paul II says, nakedness signifies the original good of the divine vision. That is from Theology, lecture number 13 and paragraph 1. Why is nakedness this original good of the divine vision? Nakedness is something which has to be understood. Now, for this, we'll have to go back into a little bit of the story of Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve, when they were created, of course, naked, right? But when they fell into sin, okay, it says that their eyes were opened and they saw that they were naked. Okay, their eyes were opened and they saw that they were naked. That means, does it mean that they were not naked earlier, prior to sin? Okay, it gives you a little bit of a hint of what's happening. It means they were naked, but it also means that they were clothed. Okay, it's not explicitly mentioned, but they were naked, but clothed at the same time. Clothed with what? They were clothed with the glory of God. So when sin came, they lost the glory of God. And when the glory of God is lost, they saw, the eyes were opened to the fact that they were naked now. Naked in what sense? They have lost the glory of God. That is how they became naked. Okay. Earlier they were naked without shame. Now shame has come in because they have lost the glory of God. Okay. Which was their covering, which was their clothing, if you can say. Okay. Now, since that has happened, it becomes a problematic for every human being later on in life, because we are living, so to speak, what John Paul II calls us, we are the historical man right now. Okay. Historical man is the man after sin. Okay. Right from Adam and Eve, after sin, to all of us in present generation, the entire gamut of the human generations is all historical man. And what does historical man suffer from? Historical man suffers from what is known as the threefold concupiscence, okay, which is there in the first letter of John. It says the threefold concupiscence is the desire of the eyes, the desire of the flesh, and the pride of life. Or in other words, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. So all of us, every human being, after the fall, except of course for Mother Mary and our Savior Jesus Christ, because he was fully human as well, all of us suffer from this threefold concupiscence. And because of that, we have to have what is known as shame, which kind of protects us. So if we behave in a, let's say, let's say somebody is, disrobing themselves, okay, in public, then what do we say? We say that the person is behaving in a very shameful manner. Okay, very shameless manner. Okay, how shameless the person is, and what the person is doing is a very shameful act. Okay, shameless person doing a shameful act. Okay, so when the person loses the sense of shame, okay, this person does a shameful act. Okay, so this happens to each one of us, and this happens because we have a tendency to objectify the human body. Okay, we have a tendency to not to give ourselves as a gift, but rather to possess, to grasp, to grab. That is the nature of the threefold concupiscence. What is it? The lust of the eyes. I want to, whatever I see, I want to grasp it. The lust of the flesh. Whatever I see, I want to possess it. I want to make it mine. Okay, and that brings about more of a grandiose saying that I am the greatest, the pride of life. Okay, all this is there in human nature right now, the fallen human nature. And because of that, we have this problem of looking to desire. All right. But nakedness in the original sense is devoid of all this. So there is where John Paul II is saying that the nakedness prior to sin, that was what signified the original good of the divine vision. All right. So somewhere, even though we have fallen, we still have that, okay, within us. That nakedness is the original good of the divine vision. We still have that in us. Subconsciously, we know. All right. And that is why we tend to either, in one way, make the body look very beautiful in art, even though you're depicted nakedness, or that's a good way, or you actually degrade it by making it completely pornographic. Okay. So here is what John Paul II is saying, that this is something which we need to guard against. Okay. That how are we going to depict nakedness? Even though it is something which is good, how are we going to depict it properly? Is it something, because we are living as historical people who are who are in the fallen state, we need to be careful how we depict nakedness. That's primarily what he is trying to say. Okay. So here, obviously, is a picture. Now, I was debating, should I remove this text here and just show it? Although this picture is very, very aesthetically done, I still was debating whether I should present it as is. But I said, look, let me not play around with this. So I'm trying to be a little careful. All right. Because there is nothing wrong with the picture, to be honest. There is nothing wrong with the depiction of the two human bodies there. But still, I don't know how people are going to view it. So I said, let me put it this way. So here is where John Paul II says the human body, the naked human body, in all the truth of its masculinity and femininity, has the meaning of a gift of the person to the person. Now here is where where this obviously is depicting or trying to depict Adam and Eve. Okay, where Adam and Eve are exhibiting the meaning of being a gift to each other. All right. This is what it means to be naked. That is to become a gift for the sake of the other. Okay. Because sometimes when I take my, rather when I used to take sessions in the marriage preparation course in my diocese, the essence of marriage, I used to ask this question. It's like sometimes people have this wrong notion that marriage is like the license to have sex. Okay. But honestly, marriage is not the license to have sex. No, it's not. Marriage is honestly that which gives you the freedom, okay, the sacrament which gives you the freedom to present yourself for the sake of the other as a gift to that person. In all truthfulness and fullness. That is what marriage really is. Okay. When I give myself completely to my spouse, completely, freely as a gift, not I grab, okay, I want to have sex. Have sex means I want to have it. I'm only bothered about myself, not bothered about the other person at all. But marriage, really speaking, is supposed to be bothering about the other person. I'm supposed to give myself as a gift completely to my wife, to my spouse. When that essence is known in truly in the heart and mind of every human being, then we will not have problems. But unfortunately, we don't know that truth. So we still try to grab, we still try to have, I want to have, and then it creates issues. So anyway, so we continue. So we go on to what is known as, like I mentioned, original shame and the ethos of the image. Original shame, known already from the first chapters of the Bible, is a permanent element of culture and morality. It belongs to the very essence of the ethos of the human body. I've already discussed this a long time ago what shame does. Okay. Shame, in the sense, after the fall of man, shame has come in as a protective measure. Okay. So shame kind of sets a boundary. Okay. Beyond which, if you cross that boundary, you are getting into shameless, acts and shameful behavior. And shame kind of protects our, it gives the license to be holy, okay, within a set parameter. Shame sets that boundary. And if we cross that, then we have a problem. So this is what he's saying. A person of developed sensibility, okay. I hope I am. I don't know. Okay. I'm trying to be anyway. So that's basically what, we were talking about this, right? So should I exhibit that image completely or should I not? Okay. So that was the question. So a person of developed sensibility crosses the limit of that shame only with difficulty and inner resistance. So I was having that inner resistance. I wanted to show that picture, but I was having that inner resistance that, should I or should I not? Okay. So a person of developed sensibility, I don't know completely whether I am there or not, but still I'm trying to. A person of developed sensibility crosses the limit of that shame only with difficulty and inner resistance. Okay. This is clear. John Paul II is going on to say, this is clear even in situations that otherwise justify the necessity of undressing the body. For example, in the case of medical examinations or operations. Okay. I mean, we all are very clearly aware that there are male gynecologists, okay, who take care of women's issues, no? So if a doctor is female body naked, okay, in the medical context, is he going to be, doing something which is wrong? Of course not. Provided, obviously, also he is maintaining that sensibility. All right. So that's what he's saying. This is clear even in situations that otherwise justify the necessity of undressing the body. So how, let's say the doctor, how developed are his sensibilities? That's also a matter of concern, especially for women when they have to face certain doctors, who sometimes who are male. So that's why usually women who, whenever they have women's issues, if I can put it that way, they would prefer a woman doctor, Okay, so it kind of takes care of this issue of the look, so to speak. So again, John Paul II is saying, following his personal sensibility, man does not want to become an object for others. Okay, this is what every human being, none of us, I don't want, I'm sure most of us, all of us who are listening to me right now, they don't want to become an object for others. Of course, I don't want, okay? Through his own anonymous nakedness, okay? Even though if, let's say, I remove my face and, present my body, even that, even though if people, even if I come to know that, people will not be able to identify me, but still I would not like that, right? Nor does he want the other person to become an object for him in a similar way. This is if a person is developed a sensibility, okay? It is evident that he does not want to the degree in which he lets himself to be guided by the sense of dignity of the human body. So if a person is guided by the sense of dignity of the human body, then he would not want to become an object for the others, and neither would he want others to become an object for him. This is crucial, especially in art and media. So we are very clearly aware of how media depicts human bodies, right? And it's nowadays very, all of us, at least in my time when I think I'm quite young even now, but still, when I was far younger, if somebody wanted to, see something, see, let's say, a smutty image, if I can put it that way, one had to go and get a smut magazine, and then look. Now it's so easy. Okay. All you have to do is all just the tip of your fingers, on your mobile phone, on your personal computers, on your laptops, on your tablets, it's just at the touch of a button. It's all available. That's how fallen we have become. And under these circumstances, with social media and whatever, we need to be extra careful about how we depict, our human bodies. And that's precisely what John Paul II is trying to tell us and help us to learn. Okay. So here we come to porno vision and pornography. So when one oversteps the limit of shame or of personal sensibility with regard to what is connected with the human body, with its nakedness, when in a work of art or by audiovisual media, one violates the body's right to intimacy in its masculinity and femininity, and in the final analysis, when one violates the deep order of the gift, like I explained earlier, the order of the gift and of reciprocal self-giving, then it becomes porno vision or pornography. So, okay, but the quote is quite long, so I had to edit it. So here is what John Paul II is saying. What does something become? How does something porno or porno vision? When one oversteps the limit of shame. Shame is there in order for us to be guarded. Okay. Shame is an essential aspect of the fallen human nature in order to protect human nature from falling into, in a sense of degradation. All right. So shame is essential. So when someone oversteps the limit of that shame, then we have problems. Okay. That is precisely what John Paul II is trying to say. So precisely because of his body and his sex, that is femininity and masculinity, and pay attention when John Paul II writes, when he says his sex means the male, he depicts the male as, sorry, not as the male, the human person, as he or him. Okay. It does not mean that he is excluding the female. So that's why he's saying the he or the him, who is the human person, would have femininity or masculinity. That is the truth about man. Okay. Man, in that sense, the broad context includes both the sexes. There is a male and the female. So precisely because of his body and his sex, femininity or masculinity, the truth about man, the truth about what is particularly personal and interior in him, creates precise limits that one must not overstep. Okay. That's what John Paul II is saying. We should not overstep these limits. If we are stepping, then in any way we depict body and art, body in the art and the media, then we'll have problems. These limits must be recognized and observed by the artist who makes the human body the model or subject of a work of art or audiovisual representation. Okay. So this is going to be the last slide for this lecture. So we need to have an education in chastity. All right. So here again, I've just given you 3 quotations from John Paul II. So I'll just try and explain it. I'll read it out to you and I'll try and explain it as well. So these are works of art whose subject is the human body in its nakedness, the contemplation of which allows one to concentrate in some way on the whole truth of man, on the dignity and beauty, even supra-sensual beauty of his masculinity and femininity. These works bear within themselves in a hidden way, as it were, an element of sublimation that leads the viewer through the body to the whole personal mystery of man. In contact with such works, we do not feel pushed by their content towards looking to desire. Okay. What he's trying to say is that when a person is observing chastity, that is when an artist is observing chastity, then even though he's depicting nakedness, okay, the contemplation of which allows one to concentrate in some way at the whole truth of man. That means you're looking at that image, but you're going beyond the image, beyond the sensual. That is beyond the sensual. That is what it means, supra-sensual, above the, supra means going above and beyond. Okay, supra-sensual. You're going beyond the sensual, and then you are going to understand the whole personal mystery of man. Okay, so now in a sense, you look at that image and then you are encountering the person, the human person. If that is happening, then you are not pushed by the content to looking to desire. Okay, that kind of depiction of art is something which is supposed to be looked up to and supposed to be accepted. All right, that's basically what he's saying. This is an education in chastity. All right, I hope you're getting it. So here we will not be pushed to looking to desire. We will not be pushed to possess. You just looking at a naked body depicted in a beautiful way, and you are saying, in a way, you can even glorify God for that depiction. All right. When that happens, then you are behaving in a very chaste manner. Okay. Then he goes on to say, what we have called the ethos of the image cannot be considered in abstraction from the correlative component, which one would have to call the ethos of seeing. So there has to be an ethos of the image and there has to be an ethos of the seeing. So one is the depiction of the art and the other is the viewing of the art. Okay. So the depiction also has to be chaste. The viewing also has to be chaste. This is essential. Okay. Then finally he says, the creation of the climate favorable to education and chastity contains these 2 components. Which are these components? It concerns, so to speak, a reciprocal circuit that takes place between the image and the act of seeing, between the ethos of the image and the ethos of seeing. So the way the artist is depicting, whether it is in a painting, whether it is in even in the theater, okay, whether it is in a movie, whether it is in a book, whether it is even written material.
I think we got stuck. Let's wait.
Anyway, about to conclude. Okay, what I was saying is that yeah. So if there is any
Cheta, one immediate question. Why does Pope John Paul II insist on this 100% complete, total, and absolute purity of body, mind, and heart in all ways, not even to have a single sexual desire? I mean, look at the world today. The world today is full of exactly what you don't want to see as a Christian. And but Pope John Paul II says that yes, you have to be 100%. There's no gray shade. There's no gray shades here. It's only white, pure white to have the theology of the body. Could you explain a little about why he says that?
Because let's go back to Matthew chapter 19. Okay, when Jesus addresses the Pharisees. Okay, this is not what John Paul II is saying. John Paul II is saying only what Jesus Christ is saying. What is Jesus Christ saying? In the beginning, it was not so. I think that answers.
I have one question. So, what about in some countries we have the police who are there to catch child pornography. Okay, so they are supposed to see pornography to see if they can catch the people who are doing wrong to children. Okay, so morally it may look correct from the world's view, but I always see that job as a big challenge. No, I recommend anybody not to have that job. That's my view. But then the question is, how do you catch these people? So, what's your view on that?
Sorry, I didn't catch because again, I think I'm having a little bit of network issues. So
Yeah,
I couldn't hear what you're saying.
I was asking, what about the police, cyber police, who are watching porn to catch child pornography?
Okay.
Yeah. So how do we? It's challenging job. It's immoral at the same day from the worldview, moral to save children. How do we do that?
Well, let me be honest about one thing. I don't know how these people handle it. Okay, because obviously it is going to be challenging. I'm trying to imagine myself in that situation. Okay, they will have to kind of obviously, for the sake of, so it's like, I mean, this is probably an analogy which I can probably understand in some sense. Is if somebody is crossing the speeding limit, let's say if the speed limit is 60 kilometers per hour, okay, and is traveling at 80 kilometers per hour, okay, the policeman who has to chase the person has to travel probably even more faster than 80 kilometers per hour to catch that fellow. Okay. So in a sense, the policeman has to violate the law in order to catch the crook, so to speak. So it's a challenging thing. Now here again, the cyber cop that whom you're talking about, has to also keep himself chaste and at the same time do this act of trying to catch hold of these guys. So obviously, in trying to catch hold of these guys, he'll have to obviously probably view those images himself without allowing that to affect him, which is honestly a very difficult thing because all of us are prone to fall. All of us. Is there anybody who is not prone to fall? All of us are prone to fall. Okay. So here is where I feel that, in a sense, there is also something which is known as the grace of the position or the grace of the station which has been given to you. No, okay. So probably God may be giving them that grace because He is also He's appointed that in whatever we may say, He is appointed that person at that job. Okay, right? So, like the Bible says, every authority is coming from God. No. So that person has been appointed in that particular place by, in a sense, God himself. Okay, obviously through human means, but final authority has been given from God. So by God doing that act, I am believing that God would also give him the grace which will come with that position. Okay. And hopefully with that grace, he may be able to overcome. And here I am saying with utmost as much humility that I can muster, I personally have not encountered this situation. So I don't know how I will be able to respond in such a manner. I'm hoping that that would be the way that person would be dealing with that situation. Because I have personally not been able to, I have not encountered such thing personally because I have never been put in that situation. So with that, so to speak, caveat, I'll trying to answer that question. I hope that helps in some way.
Okay,
Cheta, there is one thing I remember reading that these policemen and policewomen who are viewing these videos had to undergo severe therapy sessions to just get themselves out of the severe therapy. They were really mentally damaged, physically damaged, psychologically damaged, emotionally damaged by what they saw, and they needed therapy after every single viewing. So, yeah, it's difficult.
Absolutely possible. I mean, I'm not because some things which even though you are trying to do your job, because the stuff which is probably being presented might be really horrific. So
yes,
so I really don't know what to say, to be honest. So I
think that's a good thing, to be honest.
Something which I have not encountered, honestly, so I'd rather be honest about it.
Cheta, also, I was just thinking, suppose I was presenting this to my youth group in the church. Suppose I was presenting this teaching that the Pope wants us to have purity of thought. Normally, people stop with purity of action. Jesus himself said it is not the Pope who says, as you said very correctly, it is Jesus himself who says. But you must have thought some teenagers and youngsters and young people getting married about these things. Cheta, what were the strategies that you used to explain this in a way that they could explain and they could understand and accept, if I may?
See, everyone deep down understands. I mean, that's what my experience has been. Everyone deep down understands the necessity, so to speak, to maintain purity. Okay. Unless the person is really that corrupted in his heart. Okay. I have yet to encounter such a person who is that corrupted that he just will not listen to some reason. Okay. I have yet to encounter such a person. So deep down, I would say everybody whom I have encountered, at least has implicitly accepted that fact that purity is essential. All right. So I don't know whether strategy wise or whatever, I have tried to speak as lovingly and as clearly as possible the truth, as the way I have understood it. All right, obviously I cannot become somebody else. Okay, and I cannot use tactics which somebody else uses. Okay, somebody said experience of Tim Ballard is good to listen to those. Sorry. Experience of Tim Ballard is good to listen to those who is the hero of the sound. Oh, okay. I've heard about this movie, The Sound of Freedom, but I have not yet watched it, so I probably will not be able to comment upon it. But yeah, since Mike is saying that, I believe this is about, if I'm not mistaken, about children being trapped. No, children. Mike, if you can correct me if I'm wrong. Correct?
Yes, Chetan. It's about
So
children.
yeah,
He
children
had to
being
undergo PTSD. He had a post-traumatic stress disorder, because he had to watch thousands of hours of child pornography just to catch those people.
yeah. So I've not, obviously I've not watched the movie, so I really don't know. But yes, so this might be a good resource. Now, what was I saying prior to that? I'm sorry, I just suddenly lost my thought. Chain of thought.
Cheta, you shared something beautiful there. You said you shared it with love. You shared it with love, and you shared it authentically. I think that is
as much as
that must be
I
what
can.
has
I mean,
hit your listeners the most. As
you
long as
can
there's love
only,
in it, I guess it's okay.
yeah, you can only do the best that you can do. I mean, beyond that, you can be, see, the whole idea is to be authentic. Now, the way I've understood certain things, I try and explain the way that I have understood. Okay, I cannot become somebody else. It's just not possible. And I can't pretend somebody else. Okay, I can say that somebody else has said XYZ. I mean, let's say if I can use a quotation, let's say by John Paul II. I can say that this is what John Paul II has said, and this is the way I have understood it. And hopefully it helps. And that's the only, I don't know whether it's a tactic as such, but the only way I have done it, and I have seen it work. I mean, I'm not saying I've been super successful or whatever, but people kind of tend to listen to that. Okay, when you are being authentic and when you're being straight and clear, not
I'm glad to
beating
hear
around the
that,
bush.
Cheta. Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Yes, I had a question, brother, where I think one of the slides, the last slide before the network was interrupted, where you shared that a male has masculinity and femininity. I'm not sure if I understood that correctly or.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
please understand. I mean, that's a quotation from the text of the Theology of the Body. All right. So I was also trying to say this because I knew there were new listeners. See, when John Paul II is saying his masculinity or femininity, when he says the word, he uses the word his. He uses the word in the context of the person. Okay. So the person can be either male or female. All right. So the word his there is not expressing the male person only. The his is being used in the generic sense of man. Okay. Man then like the human being. Okay. The human being obviously is either male or female, masculine or feminine. Okay. So, and that's the way, even if you understand the way that the Bible is written. Okay. The Bible is also written in that context, not to degenerate or put down the female gender. Okay. Not that, but it's saying the man represents the whole of humanity. Okay. And within that obviously comes the male and the female. So it's in that context that John Paul II is saying. It's not saying that, he has two genders. No, he does not have two genders. The human person is either male or female. I hope that clears it out.
Yes. And the other question, the other question was that most of the people, like when you go for retreats and conventions, right, when they talk about fighting impure thoughts or, people who are coming out of like who are battling with sexual impurity. Like most of the advice that is given around is that you look away from the person.
Yep.
Like for males, you don't look at women, you shut yourself up. So how do you practice this thing that you mentioned about that it has to be pleasing, right? How do you practice that for someone who is battling with these things, or who's trying to change his course of life?
See, now let's be honest about it. Okay. Let me speak about myself. Forget about everybody else. Okay. I'm
Okay.
speaking primarily as myself. Have I not gone through this? Of course I have. All right. Have I overcome it completely? No way. Okay. I'm not sitting here as a person who's saying I'm completely pure and holy. Okay. That I will not fall into any other temptation, that I will never fall. Just not true. Okay. But this is something which, see, especially a person who's been, let's say, a person who has been abused at a young age, okay, who has been introduced to pornographic literature at a young age, okay, would obviously find it very difficult to overcome that quite easily. Okay, it's not a easy thing to go through. It's a struggle. It's a huge struggle. So sometimes in that situation, for the person who is definitely decided to change his and amend his ways, the first step is to look away. The first step is to always look away. Okay, because the first look usually is an accidental look most of the time. Okay, most of the time the first look is an accidental look. I'm not saying the first look has to be always an accidental look, but sometimes the first look can also be deliberate. Okay, we all know what I'm talking about, right? But most of the time, the first look is usually an accidental look. The question then is, what is the second look? Okay, how are you going to look? Within that 1 nanosecond, you've looked. The next step, what is the next step that you're going to do? Are you going to look away, or are you going to continue looking? That's a choice you need to make. And if you persevere in trying to look away, okay, you may fall once or twice, okay, but if you persevere in looking away, God will keep on giving you the grace to keep on looking away till you come to a point where you can look and still not be tempted and not fall. It can happen. Okay, and that's a hope. If you don't have that hope, okay, that you will become pure, you will not even look, you will not even attempt it. That's what I'm trying to say. So first and foremost, admit that you are weak, as all of us are. Admitting that you're weak is the essential aspect of overcoming this. Okay, admit that you're weak and keep on admitting that you're weak. Never admit that you will overcome it. Impossible. So please keep on admitting that you're weak and keep asking the Lord to give you the grace to look away and keep on looking away. All right, till by the grace of God, you'll come to a particular point where you still say, okay, oh, I happened to look, but it didn't affect me. You will reach that point. And if you don't have that hope that you will reach that point, you will not even start. Okay. So at the same time, you need to have the humility to look away first. And also you need to also have that hope that you will be able to overcome. Because if that hope is not there, you'll not even attempt it. So both are essential. Okay. And God will give you the grace if you persevere. I am, my own life story. I am telling you personally that by the grace of God, I've overcome. I'm not saying 100%. Of course not. Okay. But I'm on my journey. Okay. And this, you have to be humble yourself. Ki, Baba, okay, fine, I fall, I fell, I walked away, I looked, I go for confession. Repeat your confession. Don't be ashamed of saying the same thing, same sin, hundreds of times to the, I'm not, I hope it is not hundreds of times, but if you get what I'm trying to say, don't be ashamed of going to the priest and saying, okay, again I fell. Okay, please go. Please admit that you have fallen. And again, the Lord will give you the grace. And then you will reach a point, and that hope has to be there, that God will give you the grace to overcome. If you don't have that hope, then you will not even start. So always have that hope, because God says, be perfect, for I, the Lord your God, am perfect. And he who says that you have to be perfect will also give you the grace to be perfect, no? Otherwise, how
Correct.
can he even say that you be perfect? Right? So he will give you the grace. So persevere. That's all I'm going to, and that's honestly, without giving much examples or whatever, that's honestly my journey as well. All right. So there it is.
I have one question. What is possess is like a sin?
Yes.
But how come like possess is a sin?
Possess in the context of that which we are talking about today. Okay. I'm not saying possess in the sense of something which I legally have every right to possess. That's not what we're talking about. Okay. I'm trying to possess something which I have no right to possess. All right. That obviously is wrong. All right. And even if I have a right to possess, let me put it that way, like I've explained this earlier also, in the context of human nakedness, even in the context of marriage, I cannot possess. Okay, because if I start possessing there, then I am saying that I am doing this for my benefit and not for the sake of my spouse. All right. So to grab, to lust after, to possess is something which is wrong. So I rather than possessing, I need to allow myself to become a gift for the sake of the other person. Just like Christ, if you listen to what is said in the letter of Paul to the Philippians, he says he could have, I mean, not could have, he was, not, don't know whether I'm using the right word. He who is equal to God, okay, he emptied himself and became man. He emptied himself and he gave himself up for the sake of each one of us. That is precisely what a Christian is expected to do. Okay, become like Jesus Christ for the sake of the other. And in that sense, there is no possession. All right. So I hope that, hopefully that answers your question.
Any last questions? Good, I think pretty late. Thomas, you can wind up.
Yes, Shraddha.